watching the award-winning GHS-TV, Germantown Community Television, your hometown news and information station.
Welcome back. I am Vincent Perryman, and you are watching Legalese. Join us on our show today is Brian Kelsey. We are discussing the Tennessee State Legislature. So, Brian, was there anything this year that you guys tried to get through the legislature but weren't able to?
There are a couple issues that come to mind. The first was a crime bill, and then the second deals with right to life issues, which are, of course, always contentious. And on the first issue of crime, we passed a bill in 2007 that would increase the penalties for certain criminals if they committed violent acts and violent felonies with a firearm. And we said, if you do that and you do it with a gun, we're going to increase your penalty and make sure that you serve a certain minimum jail sentence. And I think that was a step in the right direction. And we did that in 2007, but we didn't get everything that we wanted. There were certain felonies that were left off the list. Assault is the first one that comes to mind, as a matter of fact. And so we came back in 2008 and said, let's pass this crime package in its full effect so that we can really crack down on these criminals and make sure that they end up serving the jail time they deserve to serve for their penalties. They also dealing with that is we funded in 2007 42 new assistant prosecutors so that they have the ability to have the caseload to actually try these cases. As it stands right now, a lot of times the prosecutor's hands are tied, as you know, because they have hundreds and hundreds of cases, and they physically could not try them in the amount of hours that they have to work in a day. So what they have to do is they end up plea bargaining with the, or they cut a plea deal with the defendant, and the defendant agrees to plead guilty to a lesser offense, and that way the defendant gets off a little bit easier, but then the prosecutor doesn't have to go through the full trial procedure. And that's, unfortunately, that's a necessary way that our system works right now because we simply have too many criminals here. I think this is a huge issue, as everyone knows, in Germantown and Shelby County, and it's one that we should have addressed in 2008, and unfortunately we did not. We did not end up, we weren't able to gather the votes, and mainly we weren't able to gather the funding from the administration and its budget that it proposed to actually pass this legislation this year, and I think that is really a shame, and I think it's something that we need to take a look at for next year for sure.
And what was the anything else that you guys were trying to push but just didn't quite make it?
Well, another issue that's always a big issue in the legislature is pro-life and pro-choice issues. And it's interesting because a lot of people don't understand in Tennessee, because of a particular Tennessee Supreme Court opinion that came down back in the year 2000, I believe, we actually have about the most liberal abortion laws of any state in the Union. We have very few restrictions that have been held by our state Supreme Court to be constitutional. What those of us who are in favor of having more restrictions have done is we would like to see a constitutional amendment passed. Now that passed this year in the Senate. It passed with 23 votes. 23 out of the 33 senators voted in favor of this constitutional amendment, which would allow the legislature to come back and, if we want to, the representatives of the people to actually pass more restrictions, things like parental notification, waiting period, a 24-hour waiting period, and things such as that before having an abortion. Those things would then go into the hands of the legislators, and they would be taken out of the hands of the state Supreme Court. So that passed in the Senate. Now it came over to the House, and it died in a particular subcommittee, the subcommittee of the Judiciary Committee. So one of the procedural mechanisms that we can go through is you can actually move to bring a bill directly to the floor so that all 99 members will end up voting on that particular issue and bypass this subcommittee system. And in fact, it was Representative Dolores Gresham, along with some maneuvers of Representative Bill Dunn, who ended up pushing that forward. And so that came to the House to vote on whether to vote on the constitutional amendment. And that needed a 2/3 vote, which it did not receive. It received a majority vote. I think it was 51 or 52 members who voted in favor of it out of the 99, but it needed a 2/3 vote. So that ended up not coming before the House for a vote. And so there again you see one of the differences between a Democratic-controlled House and a quasi-Republican-controlled Senate.
Okay. When we return from our break, we will talk more with Brian Kelsey about the Tennessee Legislature. Please stay with us.